is since we want to have a conversation, we had like 40 some people sign up, so I was like kind of panicked a little bit and want to get a lot of content in, but then we're going to have some Q&A at the end as well. And first off, what we want to cover today is thinking about, for most of the faculty, they're switching to online, and many of us have never done it before. And so thinking about the adapting that we've made, preparing your online courses and preparing materials and exercises and activities, especially because we want to engage our students. I'm also going to cover some of the training opportunities that are out there for us to be stronger as educators and program directors, and then take action. I think the COVID pandemic has really given us opportunities to stop and reflect and think about our role in not only our classrooms, but our worlds. And so looking at some of the things that some of the other places are doing to make impact. So first off, you all have work to do. In the chat feature, because we want to share as much as we can in the short amount of time of our conversation, put in your name, where you're from, and then is there any experiential learning tool, resource, idea that you're passionate about that you think is really great? And then if there is a link to, kind of if it needs more of an explanation, put the link in there. And the hope is that not only will you have the teaching tools that I'm providing, but also from each other as well. So we're kind of crowdsourcing some ideas. To give you an example of what I'm thinking is, if you haven't heard of the teachingentrpreneurship.org guys, they have 5 new modules that they provide for free, and they provide a lot of things for free. One of them is an MVP, and literally students can launch a website in 60-minute class. And it's awesome, because I had a bunch of business students doing it one time in an entrepreneurship class, and they were like, what? I have to develop a website in 60 minutes? They had no idea it was possible. So that was super fun. So go ahead and post those in the chat as we go. The adapting, we're all adapting to this experience with COVID-19, with this online education. And it's been so difficult because you had to prep a whole new class that you already had that was going to be on face-to-face, and now we're going to this asynchronous modes. Hopefully a lot of you can still have Zoom conversations with your students. But what we know from the learning by doing model is that our students learn by doing much better than they do by just reading or listening to the lectures. And so how can we in this new world continue to have those experiential activities, engagement with their peers, even though it's in this new online environment? So that's part of the chat goal there, where we want to make sure everybody's sharing some of their tools and ideas to help with the online teaching. So really pushing this. Second, in this new online environment is, I think there's a lot of tools existing, and we just have to kind of get them together. Obviously, most of us are using the Sustainable Development Goals, and I always frame it as, at the beginning of the semester we introduce them, and then at the end of this, and throughout the semester, they're always thinking of these ideas and which one of those buckets of the Sustainable Development Goals does it fit into. And just so you know, these slides we'll provide to you, and when you go to the slide, you literally click on it and it'll take you to that resource. So you'll have access to all this information. Conscious capitalism, if you've heard of them, they're trying to get business to do good and think about how their role in society. Marketplace simulations, a friend of mine at the University of Tennessee, he started that. I've used it for entrepreneurship and marketing classes. It's a great simulation, but if you're looking for something a little bit hands-off in a class, what you could do is you could do one of these simulations, and the one for the conscious capitalism one, I think it's only 6 weeks. So if you have 4 or 5 weeks in the semester, you can kind of condense it, and then you put the students on teams and they come up with they're producing a bike, and they're thinking about the parts and the inputs and the social value and their employees and their pay structures and their governance structures. So it's a great way for them to think about the business concepts. And then it's literally, they're competing against each other in the classroom. So it challenges them to be better at understanding what the customer needs are. The B Corp movement, I think, has really taken hold and has been real exciting for us. And having the B Corp, I think the certification that they go through is a good assignment to do at the end of the semester, where they look at a B Corp and look at their certifications and what are they doing. There are 163 questions they go through. And this might be a little bit too advanced, but if you have an advanced course. But what's nice about that is it makes you think. So one of my entrepreneurs was doing B Corp certification. He was a male, And he said his staff was looking at the certification and they said, you know, we don't have a paternity leave policy. And he's like, we don't. You know, well, everybody can have it. And they're like, we need to put it in writing. And so it forced him to think about it for both the men and the women in the office. And it's just a great tool for people to think about things they might not have thought of before. A lot of us use the design thinking with Stanford and IDEO's design thinking. So there's resources available there. If you want to get more into systems mapping, I love this materials that's been curated by Daniela Pappy Thornton, Anna from Oxford, and then James from Mount Royal University. They're actually presenting at 11 o'clock. I can tell you this, I always stayed away from systems thinking because it was so confusing to me and trying to put all the pieces together. And they curated a module for us. And if you see the link at the bottom, socialchangeinnovators.com, they curated all these, like, here's the best readings and articles. Here's some videos to understand it. Here's, they don't have a PowerPoint yet, but they're gonna add one. Here's exercises you can do in the classroom, a one-time exercise, or they do a whole semester program, and they do a big competition at Oxford at the end of the year. Those resources are great, and they can get you ready to go teach that materials. And then the social business model canvas, for those of you teaching non-business majors, I think the social business model canvas is a great opportunity to, again, get students' mindsets about the business side of it. And obviously, they're usually really good about the social value they want to create and the impact, but they need to understand what the markets are doing, and then how does that impact their implementation strategy. And really one of the weakest areas I found for our students is the social business model, the financial side of it. So where is my money coming from? How much am I expecting to get? And then how much are my expenses and how much do I expect to send out? So that could be really challenging for our students. So where's this all available? We've prepared, and I hope most of you have already seen it, but the Social Change Innovators online portal, so that you can access all these resources. We've curated them with other folks from around the world so that you can discover these opportunities. You can connect with those resources and share them with one another. I love the sharing part of it, and my example is I was doing a Dropbox of teaching materials in the late 2000s, and one of the faculty members, she would take my materials, and she was doing a master's level course, and she would take some of the things I was doing, and then I'm looking at her stuff going, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And so I would take Anna's stuff and I would put it into my class stuff. And it felt like every semester we kept sharing our resources, and that's what the idea was, is our students will never be in other people's classes. And so this way we can get the best of the best and share it with each other. So these are the course topics that are available in the modules. Most of us are kind of in the past the introductory type phase of the course. Some universities actually have ended, so they might be doing summer programs or winter programs, depending on the part of the world you're in. We have like the social business model canvases here. We've got the funding of venture, so not just funding with income that you can generate with the business, but also are there grants, foundational opportunities, explaining what all those are, because that tends to get difficult for students. And then the B Corps, we have materials that B Corp has curated, which is great, explaining what the B Corp is. There's Change Making 101. I like to start at the semester with change making, and then I like to end at the semester because, like, I'm sending you off now. What are you going to do that's going to change the world? And we just got a new module from Salesforce. They were at the Skoll World Forum, and they have an empathy mapping exercise, which again is another really fun experiential exercise that you can do with your students. And they can work independently in teams, or you can just have them work on their own. And then of course, the systems thinking module. From a training perspective, so we talked about online resources for our students. I want to talk about some of the resources that for us as faculty, that we can learn about. Obviously, the exchange is fantastic. I love Allie and the Commons team, what they've done with preparing with new courses and materials. If you're a researcher, or you have doctoral students, I think this social entrepreneurship doctoral program is fantastic. They're doing it in Vancouver this year. If COVID keeps us from traveling, It'll be online, and I think more of us can get in. So you might want to look into that and have your PhD students apply. The deadline was last week, but you can still apply. They know that we're telling people about it. The Global Social Entrepreneurship Certificate, faculty can get a certificate for teaching social entrepreneurship, and that's through the International Council on Small Business. What I like about ours is that it's got online video modules as well, so you can not only get the live part of it, but you also can look at additional materials. A friend of mine, Stephanie Rabel, I'm not sure if she's in this session, but she curated with the Association of Small Business and Entrepreneurship in the US, a LinkedIn platform. And so if you're looking for a job, she posts all the new jobs, she'll post new resources. So our LinkedIn's like going every I would say 4 or 5 posts a week. So I think that's really current. And then another one is a Social Entrepreneurship Conference. It's been going on for 16 years. And that one, it will be at USC next year. It's usually in November. From our support organizations, most of you know about these, but I wanted to point out a couple. The Skoll World Forum this year, so exciting. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they had to do it online. It was unbelievable because academics have not been allowed to come for years, only social entrepreneurs. And so it's been really hard to get into. And I love the resources that they've come up with. I use a lot of their videos as I do the Ashoka Fellow videos in my classroom. So they do some really high quality videos, and you can access all those on their site. Also, the people, just like this conference, you'll be able to go back and look at the videos of the sessions so you didn't miss anything. You know how we go to conferences and we're like, oh, I wish I could have gone to these sessions. Well, all the PowerPoints are available and the videos are available as well. This top one is the Social Change Innovators. When you go on our site, make sure you register, and you will then be added to our email list, and then we're going to email out. We do it quarterly. We're doing a little bit more right now, sharing resources and current things. And then Conscious Capitalism, Babson does something there. Just came out last night. If you've sent students to the Global Clinton Initiative, they love it. I've never personally gone, but they're doing a virtual conference tomorrow, and send that out to your students. They will be psyched. These guys do a great job. So all this is happening. So that brings us to COVID. And how do we provide these rapid response to pressing problems? To not engage your students with a COVID problem right now, I think is crazy. We are at this place in our lives that has consumed us and consumed our students. So the opportunity to get them to think about how do I address these issues is a great opportunity. IDEO has what's called Open IDEO challenges. They just launched a new one. You got another week left. I use these every year. I do one of their Open IDEO initiatives. The students have to come up with solutions for their problems. You only got a week left though for this one. How might businesses of all kinds rapidly adapt to support the immediate needs of the COVID-19 response? What's nice is they get professionals from all over the world, and these folks will go ahead and add in feedback to your students once they post those ideas. None of my students make it to the next phase, or at least I haven't recently. And so it just gives them a tool that's outside of you and outside of the university. It's already put together. Next Billion has some curated COVID response information. Capstone, I think if I was teaching social entrepreneurship right now, I'd be so happy with this. The design sprint, idea sprint, they did at Indiana University. They started this right after their spring break in March, really early when we were shut down. And they had thought, okay, they had 1 week to plan. They sent it out to the students, and they said, we're going to, do an idea sprint, trying to solve problems addressing the COVID epidemic. And they put together literally over 240 students, mentors, alumni, all got engaged in this, came up with 21 different teams and ideas. Of those, some of them have actually launched, and they were getting PPEs and equipment to different places. I mean, in a matter of 1 weekend, all this was accomplished, 48 hours. And they've also designed a playbook for this that you can access. So go to that website, and again, I'll give you the link. And then the last one is the rapid response to pressing problems with COVID capital. If you're looking for capital resources and for friends that are entrepreneurs or small business owners or social ventures, the case people at Duke University have curated all that information as well. So that's on this covidcap.com website. I'll end real quickly because this is a shared platform, the socialchangeinnovators.com. These are just some of the universities that have shared, so we'd love to have more resources from all of you. And I leave you with the questions in the chat and some of your ideas that you all have. So the way we do this on the chat is if you can take off your mic and go ahead and ask the question or share the idea, that's how we do it. And we've got lots of them. Anyone able want to go first?
Debbie, there's a few questions around if people will be able to get this presentation and if you can share it immediately.
Yes, and you know what? I'm going to share it now just because I've learned when you guys want it the second. All these, we have everything available right now on, is it Moby, Marina?
Event Moby, it's the app in the website.
Yeah. So, but let me find that chat. Come on, Mr. Chat. But yes. All right. I'm doing that now. What else you got? All right, it is uploaded. What other questions?
You know, maybe I'll ask jump in and ask a quick one. So I feel that a couple of things going on simultaneously. One is that as educators, we're sharing these tools to make our sessions more interactive, more dynamic, more engaging. On the flip side, have you seen, you know, I'm thinking I run an executive education program, and a lot of what we did with companies, with actually universities traveling to Costa Rica for programs is in-person, high-touch field visits. So I'm actually grappling around the convincing audiences that, you know, we can actually replicate a lot of these experiences without you leaving your places. And so any success stories, and how do we kind of make the case for in parallel building the tools to be able to do that?
Good. Kanjan Mehta, he is at Lehigh University, and he has been working all over the world. He's Indian. He works in India, Southeast Asia, and also Africa. And all of their programs that they're doing this summer are continuing. And what they've done is, he said, it's actually been great because it's forced the students to shift their mindset of being in place, but doing this work remotely. He also has found because they're getting information, much more in-depth information, and they're spending more time in depth. So I think that's been really great as well. So I agree with you that the experiences of actually doing the global programs are really kind of disheartening for the students. But you can definitely still do this important work and maybe even do it better because you don't have the distraction of being in location. So that's a good question.
Thanks, Debbie. Sorry, what's the name you mentioned, the person?
Kanjan Mehta, it's Lehigh University. There's, if you send me an email, Mohit, I will send you, I actually have the video. We just did a workshop on Tuesday, and I have that video series, and he's actually talking about it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Debbie.
Good.
I have a question.
Yes.
Debbie, these are great. Thank you for your presentation. I'm certainly going to utilize it. As a person that's about to put on a virtual conference and just really trying to figure out the best way to integrate still like human components to it so that it's not as robotic. Do you have any suggestions or things that people have done in the past that perhaps provide some content? I know the breakouts and things, but is there anything else that do you understand the point that I'm making?
I do. Jillian, if you're available, do you want to answer that with the Global Leaders Program? Not sure if she is.
Yeah, I can speak to it. Do you want to just go through the question again there?
Yeah, Angelo, can you repeat that real fast?
Sure. Me being a very tactile person, and although I get that all the online resources are really productive and we're finding that it's working well, I'm still struggling a little bit, but I'm in a process of putting together with my team a virtual conference. So I'm looking for suggestions or things that have been done successfully in the past to kind of bring the human element to the top, at certain points during the conference.
Oh, this is something that actually I was really interested in talking about, because I'm an educational support coordinator with Memorial University's new MBA in social enterprise, and this is kind of what we're tackling now as well.
Yeah.
Is how to kind of combat that. So one of the things we found, and I guess kind of relating it back. So I did the ICSB. I always say that acronym wrong. Anyway, I did that in last June. That's how I know Debbie, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. But one of the things I do find once you flip to online is the perspective, like when you're just kind of a floating head.
Yes.
On, like, even as we all are here now, kind of just shoulders up. So one of the things we've been talking about for our own lectures in our program now, because we're anticipating doing a fall semester, and for me that's gonna be tricky because my job is basically to coordinate experiential learning. So how do we do that online? But we have found that we've been experimenting with actually how you video the lecture or how you present the lecture. So if you can do a full-bodied person standing in front of us, like a screen, rather than just screen sharing like we're doing now, is that more engaging? Not quite sure yet. I mean, the video lectures, my kind of research and experience and what we're looking into now, some people prefer to watch a video and some people prefer to interact like we are now, kind of in real time. I don't have any real answers or
I'll give you a couple
preference.
from the Global Leaders program. Is that they do same idea that we have this presenter that presents, but then the breakout rooms. So those of you that have participated in breakout rooms, they're very effective. You have to give a little bit more time, but all of us know if we engage, then we're going to think about how this applies to us than just listening to the talking head.
Right.
So I think those breakout rooms are great to utilize to keep folks engaged. The Skoll World Forum and even Ashoka U is doing this too. They really utilize that very well.
We actually just did in the final class for our Funding Social Ventures course, our students participated in a breakout, a Zoom role play where we had groups of students that were investors, impact investors, and groups of students that were organizations seeking funding, and we rotated them through breakout rooms where they were with their groups discussing the facts that they had and the negotiations, and then they'd come together and do their negotiations and go back and forth between breakout rooms. For me, as the person who actually had to manipulate people through the rooms, that was a bit tricky. So I don't know if there's any better way to do that. But yeah, that was, the students said, so that was their very last class of their whole program. They're gone on to internships now, but they said that that was the most effective thing they had done once we went online.
And Susan, you had a question, which I think was good, on marginalized community members. How do we engage them in the co-creation, especially now? So does anyone have a good insight on that?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
So how do we engage our marginalized community members? Because if you think about, do they have access to technology like we do? You know, do they have access to the information the same way? So normally if we're in the field in a summer program or we're in the field during the semester, we're working hand in hand and co-creating with our community members, but now we can't be next to each other. What do we do? Does anyone have insights?
I can respond to that, although this is something that we're still struggling with. Our organization works directly with underrepresented and disadvantaged communities and are finding that this is in fact an issue. I mean, there's so much privilege embedded in even the statement of working from home, so we're having to deal with the equity issues surrounding what that means exactly. So the way we've been doing it is using some of the funds that we're getting to provide computers and laptops and things like that. But yeah, I certainly don't have all the answers for that. And that's a challenge that, we're faced with.
Angelou, thank you very much for that. I think you're absolutely right. I'm really, most of my work has to do with design and social impact, engaging with marginalized and underrepresented populations. And the pandemic, and my news, as we've seen on the news, has really even made us more aware of all our structural inequities.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to continue. And that is all of my work is taking university students into communities to co-create and co-design directly with those who don't have access to homes, let alone, computers. So I'm struggling with how do I still encourage my students to recognize that design can be a tool for change. And now we're recognizing technology is really important in all that. And I'm like, I'm disheartened by where we are and the divide that is going to continue to split those that have and those who do not. Thank you very much.
Absolutely agree.
I'd like to take a sort of a more futuristic look at this. And in the last few years, we've taken a program nationally, which meant we had to put it online, of course. But the program itself is designed to reach out to those groups who haven't been heard and to train members of those communities to become researchers and to learn the techniques of engaging within their community. We found that it was very difficult to bring patients and people on the margins into health research. It just didn't work. And so what this process has been doing is creating that bridge between the health researchers and the community members. And it's been very powerful. It does take time. It's not something you can do overnight. And it's not a just-in-time solution for now. But I think those of us who have made it our life's commitment to engage those groups who haven't been heard, I think you get to a point where you say, okay, we've got to find a way for that community to work amongst themselves and to be able to know that what they're doing is having an impact. And the impact level of doing things this way has been profound. And I think it's because there's a collective patient research voice that gets published, that gets, we write with our teams. And I think, and unless we're really into this business for emancipation, that having ways to include them in a meeting doesn't seem to have the impact that we want it to.
Yeah, and it is a struggle, I think, for all of us. I do want to quickly go through some of the examples that people shared. The mural.co to brainstorm sounds fantastic. Troika method, Troika method, using the Zoom breakout rooms. And you can save all the suggestions in the bottom right of your chat where your name is. There's 3 dots and you can do save chat so you can hear all the ideas that everyone else shared. So that'll give you a couple of different ones. The graphic design folks, we got a lot of graphic design and design type folks in here, which is fun. So you guys will have to share with us the creative things. And before we end, I do want Scott Sherman to jump on board. He's with the Transformative Institute, and they also have materials available as well. Scott, are you available?
Sure. Yes, so we have a 400-page teacher's manual full of resources. Unfortunately, one of the reasons why I'm in this session is because we do very little online, and so I'm really excited to learn more. But anyone can contact me. I'll put my email address in the chat. So yeah, we have a 400-page teacher's guide, but a lot of it is, you know, in-person experiential stuff. So we just have to figure out how to translate it. But please, anyone, please feel free to reach out to me.
Mm-hmm. Good. Good. And then one last thing I want to share is continue the conversation. We all have each other's emails. I'll follow up with an email from everyone that participated in this with other resources as well. But you know, connect with your students in all these different mediums. One of our colleagues just posted yesterday, she's now a vitamin dealer, and every day she gives you a new vitamin for your class, and she sends a text to her students. She set up a text because they feel so disconnected. And so I thought that was such a fun idea. I've noticed, especially my seniors, oh my gosh, they're just so depressed because they don't have their senior semester and they don't have graduation. And so I've been reaching out to them, and I'm also on sabbatical, but I just feel so bad for everyone. So that human connection, we just have to work really hard at keeping that going. My closing thoughts though, I think we are at a point for social innovation, education, and change making that we are going to make such a difference, and people are going to pay attention to us more than ever before after this pandemic. And so each of us in our own worlds, in our own communities, and our universities have to take this opportunity to push the envelope, because we all know what we're doing is so important to the future of society, and that now I think folks are going to listen to us more. So take this as your, you know, push to say, I'm going to be a change maker and push my university forward. So thank you for participating. And Marina, do you have any last minute thoughts?
No, just thank you for being so generous with everyone sharing their resources. I feel like this is something we're all figuring out together. And I think there aren't answers. And so I'd love to almost say, let's check back in a year and hopefully we'll have significantly better answers to all of these questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, but hopefully we won't still be quarantined.
No.
Oh, no quarantine. But who knows? Maybe I do think this question of how do we become more human in all of our interactions, if we can transcend technology or virtual and be even more human, then gosh, when we can be human as well, we'll be double awesome.
That's true.
And all of us have children that are at home right now that we're trying to manage. And I think that's another thing that's interesting is our kids are hearing what we're saying and involved with us right now. You know, let's pass this down and this enthusiasm to the next generation. So thanks again for all your time, and follow up with me if you need anything. My email's on, I'll send it on chat real fast.
Thank you, Debbie.
Debbie.brock@gmail.com.
Love the space you created for dialogue. That was awesome.
Yeah, I appreciated it.
No problem. I wish we had more time. All right. Thank you. And don't forget to save the chat if you want any more insights.
Got it.
Marina has to shut us off because she's going to another session.
Bottom right, you go to the more, and then the first tab is save chat, and then it says go to Finder, and then you can rename it. It's in an awful Unicode text, so I've tended to cut and paste it into Word and make it more readable.
And actually, I could probably send that to you when I do it, so that's fine. I'll make your life easier. Thanks again for sharing.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.